What's up, guys? If you want to follow the most interesting and exciting crime stories, I ask you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications button to receive a new story every day. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like. Will had been looking forward to this summer for months. The past year had been a nightmare after the sudden death of his wife, and he needed an escape. When he stumbled upon an ad for a newly refurbished seaside house in Florida, it seemed like the perfect retreat. The pictures showed a charming modern home with a breathtaking view of the ocean, promising peace and solitude. As Will drove towards his destination, the roads became narrower and less maintained. The GPS led him through dense, overgrown woods, and finally, to a gravel path that wound its way to the house. When he arrived, he was taken aback by what he saw. The house, though new and equipped with modern amenities, stood in the middle of an abandoned, isolated area. The nearest neighbor was miles away, and the surrounding buildings were dilapidated and overtaken by nature. "This can't be right," Will muttered to himself, double-checking the address on his phone. But there it was, in the middle of nowhere, standing tall and seemingly out of place. Despite the eerie setting, he decided to stay. The house itself was perfect, and he couldn't bear the thought of returning to the suffocating memories back home. As he unpacked his bags and explored the house, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The air was thick with an unexplainable tension, and every creak of the floorboards made his heart race. Trying to dismiss his unease as paranoia, Will settled in for the night. The first sign of trouble came around midnight. Will was jolted awake by the sound of footsteps echoing through the halls. Groggy and disoriented, he stumbled out of bed, his heart pounding. The house was supposed to be empty. Grabbing a flashlight, he cautiously made his way through the dark corridors, his breath visible in the chilly air. In the living room, he found the source of the disturbance. An old, dusty journal lay open on the coffee table, pages fluttering as if caught by an unseen breeze. Will picked it up, curiosity overcoming his fear. The journal belonged to a previous occupant of the house and detailed a series of strange occurrences and unexplainable events. "The house is cursed," one entry read. "Those who enter are trapped unless they solve its mystery. The spirits won't let anyone leave without uncovering the truth." Will's blood ran cold as he read the words. He wanted to leave, but something in the house seemed to be holding him back. Determined to uncover the truth, he decided to stay and solve the mystery. The journal provided a series of cryptic hints and clues, guiding him towards the first task, finding a hidden key. The next morning, Will began his search. The journal mentioned a specific painting in the library, behind which the key was hidden. The library was vast, filled with dusty old books and cobweb-covered shelves. The painting, a portrait of a stern-looking man, seemed to watch him as he approached. With a deep breath, Will reached behind the frame and felt a small metallic object. Pulling it out, he found the key. A sense of accomplishment mixed with dread washed over him. The key was just the beginning. The journal indicated that it would unlock a door in the basement, where the next task awaited. As he descended into the dark, damp basement, the air grew colder. The key fit perfectly into an old, rusted lock, revealing a hidden room filled with strange artifacts and symbols. The room seemed to pulsate with an otherworldly energy, and Will could feel the presence of something watching him. In the center of the room stood an old chest, secured with a complex lock. The journal described a series of symbols etched around the mansion that, when combined correctly, would reveal the combination. Will's heart raced as he began his search, knowing that each step brought him closer to uncovering the house's dark secrets. The search for the symbols took hours. They were hidden in the most unexpected places, behind loose bricks, under floorboards, and inside ancient books. Each discovery revealed more about the mansion's sinister past and the souls trapped within its walls. Finally, Will had all the symbols. He returned to the basement and carefully arranged them on the chest's lock. With a click, the chest opened, revealing an old locket inside. The locket contained a photo of a woman who bore a striking resemblance to his late wife, leaving Will shaken and more determined than ever to uncover the truth behind the haunted mansion. The discovery of the locket left Will deeply unsettled. The resemblance between the woman in the photo and his late wife was uncanny. Could it be a coincidence, or was there a more sinister connection between his past and this cursed mansion? Determined to uncover the truth, Will turned back to the journal for guidance. The next task was to locate a hidden message within the walls of the mansion. The journal provided a map of the house with various symbols and notations indicating where clues might be found. Will studied the map intently, his eyes tracing the lines and markings. His first destination was the library, where the map suggested he would find the first clue. The library, filled with dusty old books and ancient tomes, felt like a labyrinth. Will scanned the shelves, looking for anything that stood out. After what felt like hours, he noticed a book that seemed newer than the others. He pulled it from the shelf, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Inside, there was a small, ornate box. Opening the box, Will found a piece of parchment with a cryptic message written in Latin. He didn't understand the language, but the journal contained a translation guide. Using the guide, he painstakingly translated the message, which directed him to a secret room behind a large portrait in the dining room. The dining room was grand, with a long table and high-backed chairs that seemed to have been untouched for decades. The portrait, depicting a regal-looking woman, dominated one wall. Will approached it cautiously, feeling the weight of unseen eyes on him. As he examined the frame, he found a hidden latch that, when pressed, revealed a narrow doorway. Behind the portrait was a dimly lit room filled with old letters and photographs. Will sifted through them, piecing together the tragic history of the mansion. The letters told the story of a family who had lived there centuries ago, and the unspeakable tragedy that had befallen them. It seemed that the spirits of the family were still trapped within the house, unable to find peace. Among the documents, Will found a diary entry that provided the next clue, a silver dagger hidden in the attic. The entry hinted that the dagger was crucial to the final ritual needed to break the curse. With a sense of foreboding, Will made his way to the attic. The narrow staircase creaked under his weight, and the air grew colder with each step. The attic was a chaotic mess of old furniture, forgotten toys, and dusty trunks. As he searched, he felt a presence watching him, making the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Hours passed as he sifted through the clutter. Just as he was about to give up, he found a dusty old mirror covered in a sheet. When he uncovered it, he saw the reflection of his wife standing behind him. Startled, he spun around, but she was gone. The vision gave him a strange sense of comfort and renewed determination. Finally, Will discovered the silver dagger wrapped in a tattered cloth inside an old chest. The dagger was beautifully crafted, with intricate engravings along the blade. It felt heavy in his hand, and he could sense the power it held. Returning to the journal, Will found the instructions for the next task, performing a ritual in the mansion's hidden chapel. The chapel was concealed behind a false wall in the living room. As he prepared for the ritual, the house seemed to come alive with activity. Shadows moved independently, whispers echoed through the halls, and the air grew thick with tension. Entering the chapel, Will was struck by the eerie beauty of the place. It was filled with ancient artifacts and religious symbols, all bathed in the flickering light of candles that seemed to ignite on their own. The journal's instructions were detailed and precise, requiring him to place the dagger on the altar and recite an incantation in Latin. As Will began the ritual, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The spirits became restless, their wails filling the chapel. The tension reached its peak as he completed the incantation, and a blinding light engulfed the room. When the light faded, Will found himself standing in a lush garden that was once part of the mansion's grounds. The garden, overgrown and wild, seemed out of place with the rest of the decaying mansion. In the center stood a tall, ancient oak tree. According to the journal, the final task awaited him here, confronting the mansion's malevolent spirit, the one responsible for the curse. The spirit manifested as a terrifying specter, its form shifting and changing. Will's heart pounded as he faced the entity, realizing that this would be the ultimate test of his courage and resolve. As Will stood before the ancient oak tree, the air grew colder and the shadows deepened. The malevolent spirit took form, a shifting, nebulous entity that exuded an aura of pure malevolence. It loomed over Will, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The spirit's presence was overwhelming, and for a moment, Will felt an almost irresistible urge to flee. But he knew that running away would only trap him in this nightmare forever. The journal had mentioned that the spirit was bound to the mansion by a dark ritual performed centuries ago. To break the curse, Will needed to confront the spirit and use the silver dagger to sever its connection to this world. Taking a deep breath, he tightened his grip on the dagger and stepped forward. The spirit hissed, its voice a cacophony of whispers and screams. "You cannot defeat me, mortal. This house is my domain. Leave now, and I may spare your life." Will's resolve hardened. "I'm not leaving until I break this curse. You've tormented enough souls. It ends here." With a swift, decisive motion, Will lunged at the spirit, the silver dagger aimed at its heart. The spirit recoiled, its form flickering and distorting. The dagger seemed to disrupt its very essence, and for the first time, Will saw a hint of fear in its eyes. The battle was intense, the spirit attacking with a flurry of dark energy and haunting visions. Will fought back with everything he had, drawing strength from the memory of his wife and the hope of a future free from this nightmare. As the fight dragged on, Will began to tire. The spirit's relentless assaults were taking their toll, and he could feel his strength waning. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, he remembered the incantation from the journal. Summoning the last of his energy, he began to chant the words, the Latin phrases rolling off his tongue with newfound power. The spirit shrieked, its form beginning to unravel. The dagger, now glowing with an ethereal light, seemed to pulse in Will's hand, resonating with the power of the incantation. With one final, desperate effort, he plunged the dagger into the heart of the spirit. A blinding flash of light enveloped the garden, and for a moment, everything was silent. When the light faded, the spirit was gone, its essence dissipated into the ether. The oppressive weight that had hung over the mansion lifted, replaced by a profound sense of peace. Will collapsed to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. The curse was broken. Will awoke in his bed, the early morning light streaming through the windows. The nightmare was over, but the memories lingered, vivid and unsettling. He sat up, the events of the past days playing through his mind like a dark, twisted movie. The mansion, the journal, the spirits. Had it all been real, or just a vivid dream? The silver dagger lay on the bedside table, a tangible reminder of his ordeal. He spent the next few days exploring the mansion, now free of its malevolent presence. The atmosphere had changed, the air was lighter, and the oppressive sense of dread was gone. As he wandered through the rooms, he found traces of the previous occupants, letters, photographs, and personal belongings that told stories of love, loss, and tragedy. The mansion had been a prison for so many souls, and now it was finally free. Will decided to document his experiences in a journal of his own, hoping that his story might one day help others who found themselves in similar situations. He wrote about the tasks, the clues, and the final confrontation with the spirit, pouring his heart and soul into the pages. It was a cathartic process, helping him come to terms with his grief and begin the healing process. As he wrote, he found himself reflecting on his own life and the loss of his wife. The mansion had been a manifestation of his grief, a dark mirror of his own emotional turmoil. Confronting the spirits and breaking the curse had been a way of confronting his own demons, and in doing so, he had found a path forward. The experience had changed him, giving him a newfound sense of purpose and determination. With the mansion's curse lifted, Will decided it was time to move on. He packed his belongings, leaving the journal and the silver dagger behind as a testament to the mansion's dark history and the bravery it took to break the curse. As he drove away, he felt a sense of closure and peace that he hadn't felt in a long time. Will returned to his home, determined to rebuild his life and honor his wife's memory. He took up new hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and even started a support group for people dealing with grief and loss. Sharing his story and helping others gave him a sense of fulfillment and purpose. the haunted mansion became a distant memory, a dark chapter in his life that had ultimately led to healing and growth. Will never forgot the lessons he learned there, the importance of facing one's fears, the strength that comes from confronting one's deeds. Despite the closure Will had found, the mansion's secrets continued to haunt him. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Driven by curiosity and a lingering sense of responsibility, he decided to dig deeper into the mansion's history. He reached out to local historians and scoured archives, determined to uncover the full extent of the curse and the tragedies that had unfolded within its walls. Will discovered that the mansion had been built in the late 1800s by a wealthy but reclusive family, the Mortons. The family had suffered a series of inexplicable misfortunes, starting with the sudden death of the patriarch, Henry Morton. Following his death, the family experienced a string of mysterious illnesses, disappearances, and accidents, leading to rumors of a curse. The most disturbing event was the disappearance of Henry's youngest daughter, Eliza, whose body was never found. As Will delved into old newspapers and police reports, he found accounts of the Mortons' desperate attempts to lift the curse. They had brought in priests, psychics, and occultists, but nothing worked. The mansion became a place of fear and despair, its once grand halls echoing with the cries of the tormented spirits trapped within. One name kept appearing in his research: Dr. Charles Hargrove, a renowned occultist who had been hired by the Mortons in a last-ditch effort to save their family. Dr. Hargrove's journals, stored in a local museum, detailed his efforts to understand and combat the dark forces at work in the mansion. Will managed to get access to these journals, hoping they would provide more insight. Dr. Hargrove's writings were chilling. He described his encounters with the restless spirits and the malevolent entity that seemed to be the source of the curse. According to his journals, the curse was tied to a powerful artifact, a locket that had belonged to Eliza Morton. The locket, imbued with dark magic, had been used in a ritual gone wrong, binding the spirits to the mansion. Will realized that the locket he had found during his ordeal was the key to understanding the curse. He returned to the mansion, determined to find out more about Eliza and the locket's origins. As he explored the decaying rooms, he stumbled upon a hidden passageway that led to a small, forgotten chamber. Inside, he found Eliza's diary. Eliza's diary was a heartbreaking account of a young girl's descent into darkness. The entries started with her happy childhood, filled with dreams and aspirations. But as the entries progressed, they grew darker. Eliza wrote about strange occurrences and an oppressive presence in the house that seemed to target her specifically. She described hearing whispers, seeing shadows, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. The diary revealed that Eliza had found the locket in the woods near the mansion. She had been drawn to it, compelled by an inexplicable force. Once she brought it home, the dark events began. Eliza's health deteriorated, and she became obsessed with the locket, believing it held the key to unlocking ancient, forbidden knowledge. Desperate to understand its power, she conducted rituals and made contact with the spirit world, unknowingly unleashing the malevolent entity that would doom her family. The final entries in the diary were fragmented and incoherent, written in a state of utter terror. Eliza wrote about being trapped in a nightmare, unable to escape the entity's clutches. Her last entry ended abruptly, hinting that she had hidden the locket in a secret location to prevent it from causing more harm. Will's heart ached for Eliza, understanding the torment she had endured. He knew he had to find the locket's hiding place and put an end to the curse once and for all. Guided by Eliza's diary, he searched the mansion for clues, eventually finding a loose floorboard in her old bedroom. Underneath, he discovered a small, ornate box containing the locket. Armed with the locket and the knowledge from Dr. Hargrove's journals, Will prepared for the final confrontation. The instructions were clear. He had to perform a ritual at midnight, using the locket to summon the entity and then destroy it to free the trapped spirits. The ritual required a combination of ancient incantations and symbols drawn from the journals and Eliza's diary. As the clock struck midnight, Will began the ritual in the mansion's grand hall. The air grew cold, and the atmosphere thickened with an oppressive energy. The candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Will's voice echoed through the hall as he recited the incantation, summoning the entity. The malevolent spirit appeared, more terrifying than ever, its form shifting and swirling with rage. It lunged at Will, but he held the locket high, using it to channel the incantation's power. The entity howled, its form flickering and weakening. Will felt the weight of countless souls pressing upon him, urging him to continue. With a final... Months had passed since Will's final confrontation with the malevolent spirit, and life had slowly returned to normal. However, the experience had left an indelible mark on him, shaping his outlook on life. He continued to honor his wife's memory by living fully, engaging with the world, and helping others who were grappling with their own demons. Will decided to share his story publicly, hoping to shed light on the mansion's dark history and bring closure to the families affected by its curse. He published a book detailing his harrowing journey, combining his personal experiences with historical research. The book, titled The Haunted Mansion: A Journey Through Darkness, quickly gained attention, resonating with readers who had faced their own struggles and fears. The book's success brought Will a platform to speak about mental health, grief, and resilience. He gave interviews, spoke at events, and used his newfound influence to advocate for those dealing with loss and trauma. His message was clear: even in the darkest times, there is hope and a path to healing. 1 year after his initial ordeal, Will felt a pull to revisit the mansion. He had been keeping tabs on the property, which remained abandoned despite its newfound fame. Rumors of the mansion's haunting had subsided, and it stood silent and still, a relic of a bygone era. Arriving at the mansion, Will was struck by the contrast between his first visit and now. The oppressive atmosphere was gone, replaced by a serene stillness. He walked through the halls, reflecting on how much had changed. The once terrifying rooms now felt like echoes of the past, their secrets laid bare and their spirits at peace. In Eliza's room, Will found a new sense of connection. He left a small bouquet of flowers and a handwritten note thanking her for guiding him through his journey. He hoped that, wherever she was, she could finally rest, knowing her story had been told and her spirit freed. Back in his own home, Will embraced his new life with a sense of purpose. He continued his advocacy work, connecting with people who had read his book and were inspired by his journey. He started a foundation dedicated to helping those dealing with grief and trauma, providing resources and support to those in need. Will's own healing journey was ongoing. He sought therapy to work through his experiences and the lingering effects of his time in the mansion. The nightmares had lessened, replaced by a deep sense of gratitude and a drive to live each day to the fullest. He also rekindled old friendships and made new ones, building a support network that became an integral part of his life. These connections brought joy and stability, helping him navigate the ups and downs of his new reality. One evening, Will received a letter from a woman named Margaret, claiming to be a descendant of the Morton family. She had read his book and was moved by the detailed account of her ancestors' plight. Margaret invited Will to visit her and discuss the mansion's history further. Intrigued, Will accepted the invitation and traveled to meet her. Margaret lived in a quaint cottage filled with family heirlooms and photographs. She shared stories passed down through generations, painting a vivid picture of the Morton family's life before the curse took hold. Margaret revealed that the Mortons had been a loving and close-knit family, but their downfall had begun long before the mansion's construction. The curse, she explained, was tied to an ancient family secret involving a betrayal and a powerful artifact that had cursed their bloodline. The locket was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Together, Will and Margaret delved deeper into the Morton family history, uncovering more secrets and connections. They found that the curse had affected many other family members, causing misfortune and tragedy across generations. Determined to break the cycle once and for all, they began a new quest to locate the other artifacts and perform a final ritual to lift the curse from the Morton lineage. Will and Margaret traveled across the country, following leads and piecing together clues. Their journey took them to old libraries, forgotten crypts, and ancient sites where the other artifacts were hidden. Each discovery brought them closer to understanding the full extent of the curse and how to break it. As they gathered the artifacts, they encountered new challenges and dangers. The malevolent spirit, though weakened, still had a grip on the physical world, manifesting through unforeseen obstacles and dark omens. Will and Margaret's resolve was tested, but their determination never wavered. Finally, they gathered all the necessary artifacts and returned to the mansion for the final ritual. The process was elaborate and fraught with risks, requiring precise timing and unwavering focus. The atmosphere grew tense as they chanted incantations and performed the ritual steps, the air crackling with energy. With the mansion's curse finally lifted and its history transformed into a tale of redemption, Will and Margaret continued to share their story and inspire others. The museum's opening was a grand event, attended by historians, media, and locals. It was a moment of celebration and reflection, a testament to the power of courage and perseverance. However, just when things seemed to be settling into a peaceful routine, a new mystery emerged. While organizing documents and artifacts for the museum, Margaret stumbled upon an old hidden compartment behind a wall in the mansion's library. Inside was a dusty chest containing a series of letters and a strange object, an ancient, ornate key. The letters were from Eliza Morton, written in a hurried and desperate tone. They described her growing fear of the curse and her attempts to protect her family. Among the letters was one addressed to a trusted ally, mentioning a secret chamber hidden within the mansion, accessible only with the mysterious key. Intrigued, Will and Margaret decided to investigate. They believed that uncovering this secret could provide further insights into the Morton family's plight and potentially reveal more about the artifacts that had caused so much suffering. The key was intricately designed, adorned with symbols and runes that matched the ones found in the old journals. Will and Margaret explored the mansion's less accessible areas, searching for a hidden chamber that matched the descriptions in Eliza's letters. The search led them to a forgotten part of the mansion's basement, where they discovered a concealed door. The key fit perfectly into the ancient lock, and with a creak, the door swung open to reveal a hidden chamber. Inside, they found a room filled with more artifacts and manuscripts, some of which seemed to be of immense historical and occult significance. The chamber was surprisingly well preserved, with shelves lined with ancient tomes and artifacts that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Among the items was a large, ornate book bound in dark leather. It was a grimoire filled with intricate diagrams, spells, and rituals related to the occult practices of the time. The book detailed dark rites that had been used to summon and control spirits, and it seemed to hold secrets about the curse's origins and its possible solutions. As Will and Margaret examined the book, they found references to a Master of Shadows, an ancient and powerful entity said to be the source of the curse. According to the text, this entity had the power to manipulate and control other spirits, binding them to its will. The curse on the Morton family had been a result of this entity's influence, causing suffering and misfortune across generations. Realizing the gravity of their discovery, Will and Margaret knew they had to delve deeper into the Master of Shadows' history and influence. They sought out experts in occult studies and ancient history to help interpret the grimoire and understand the full extent of the entity's power. The experts confirmed that the Master of Shadows was a malevolent force with a reputation for being nearly impossible to defeat. It thrived on fear and despair, using its power to ensnare and torment those who crossed its path. The grimoire provided detailed instructions for confronting the entity, but the process was perilous and required a deep understanding of its dark magic. Will and Margaret decided to undertake this final quest, determined to ensure that no other family would suffer from the Master of Shadows' wrath. They gathered the necessary artifacts and performed the preparatory rituals, bracing themselves for the confrontation. As they prepared for the final ritual, the atmosphere grew tense. The mansion, once again, became a battleground between light and darkness. The Master of Shadows made its presence known, its form an ever-shifting darkness that seemed to seep into every corner of the mansion. The ritual required them to perform a series of complex incantations, using the artifacts they had collected to weaken the Master of Shadows' hold on the physical world. The grimoire's instructions were precise, detailing each step needed to confront and banish the entity. The air was charged with energy, and the mansion seemed to come alive with eerie whispers and shadows. As the ritual reached its climax, the Master of Shadows manifested fully, a swirling vortex of darkness and malevolent energy. Will and Margaret fought to maintain their focus, reciting the incantations and using the artifacts to channel their power. The battle was intense, with the Master of Shadows launching waves of dark energy and attempting to break their concentration. In a final, desperate move, Will invoked a powerful binding spell described in the grimoire. The spell required an immense amount of energy and courage, but it was their only hope of defeating the Master of Shadows once and for all. With a surge of power,